The Flagstaff courthouse hummed with rumors long before court started. Cameras clustered the steps, journalists crowded around the glass doors, and the air out there held that charged quiet that happens when something great is to take place. Inside the courtroom, it was chilly. Not from air conditioning, but from emotional chill between the Browns. Kody was rigid beside Robyn, his countenance clenched with outrage and incredulity. On the other side of the aisle, Meri smoothed her jacket, her face neutral. For years she had been dismissed, forgotten, the first wife who lingered too long, but today she had something no one else did, the truth. When the judge came in, everyone stood up. Meri's attorney, a serene but authoritative woman named Miss Keller, did not waste any time. "Your Honor," she started, "this is not just a family matter. What we present today has legal and emotional implications that extend far from these walls." Kody snorted softly, but the sound traveled. Robyn took his hand, her knuckles white, squeezing hard. The first 15 minutes were procedural. Motions, objections, the usual legal rhythm. But the tension simmered just beneath the surface. Meri's eyes never left Kody's face. He tried not to look back, but curiosity, or fear, won out. Then Meri's attorney set a single manila envelope on the table. "This," she said slowly, "contains DNA evidence that directly concerns Mr. Brown and Mrs. Robyn Brown." The room came to a halt. The judge's eyebrows shot up. Kody's lips parted slightly, and Robyn's shoulders bristled as if she'd been hit. Kody's attorney, a keen man in a gray suit, sprang to his feet. "Objection! This was never produced under discovery. This is an ambush." Miss Keller did not blink. "Your Honor, the defense was afforded every chance to be fully transparent. We will demonstrate that this evidence only came into play after the Browns' financial reports and testimony proved untrue." The judge leaned forward. "Go on, but walk carefully, counselor." Meri breathed slowly, her fingers shaking. She hadn't intended to talk this early, but something within her, that fusion of sorrow and strength, compelled her. "I love this family," she whispered, her voice shaking. "I thought I was part of our connection, even when it shattered me. But what I found out, it's not about betrayal anymore. It's about lies." A reporter in the press box wrote furiously. Robyn brushed away a tear. Whispering, the judge signaled for Meri to proceed. She gazed at the envelope. "This proof," she said, "demonstrates that the truth we've all lived with about our family, about our kids, isn't what we believe it is." Christine and Janelle, sitting quietly in back of her, caught a look. They'd come to be with Meri, but even they didn't know what she was about to say. Ms. Keller passed the envelope to the bailiff, who brought it to the judge. He opened it slowly, reading the first several lines of the paper inside. His brows were furrowed, his lips pressed hard into a line. "Ms. Brown," he continued, "do you understand the impact of this information?" "Yes, Your Honor," Meri answered in a firmer voice now. "That's why I'm here." Robyn finally spoke up. "This is absurd," she exclaimed, standing. "Meri is attempting to sabotage our family once more. She can't stand that Kody and I experience true love." Kody also stood up, his chair scraping hard against the tile. "She's bitter! She's doing this for attention." The judge banged his gavel once. "Enough! Sit down, both of you." The tumult died away, but not the buzz. Everyone in that room could sense it. Something explosive was about to come out. As the morning wore on, Meri's attorney began to call witnesses, a close family friend, a former family assistant, and even one of the network's producers. Their testimonies painted a disturbing picture: secret meetings, missing funds, and a growing pattern of secrecy between Kody and Robyn that began years before the family's public split. By the time lunch recess was called, the other half of the courtroom had tears in their eyes, some from sympathy, others from shock. Meri sat quietly, her eyes on the table, fingers making invisible circles. Christine moved softly. "Are you sure you're ready for what comes next?" she asked. Meri nodded. "Ready or not, it's already happening." In the other half of the room, Kody leaned into Robyn. "We'll shut this down. She has nothing real," but the flicker in Robyn's eyes told another story. Doubt. She was terrified, not just of losing, but of the truth itself. As they prepared to resume, the judge gave a brief reminder of decorum. The cameras, though limited, caught every small movement. Kody's clenched fists, Robyn's shaking hands, Meri's steady breath. This wasn't just a case anymore. It was a reckoning. Years of emotional neglect, favoritism, and lies had led them to this point, the breaking point. The bailiff announced that court was back in session. Ms. Keller rose again, a faint, knowing smile on her face. "Your Honor," she said, "with your permission, we'd like to present the contents of the DNA report." The judge nodded. The file was set in front of him, but before he could read it out loud, Kody jumped up. "Stop! You don't know what you're doing." His voice cracked, not with command, but fear. Robyn put her hands over her face. Meri watched him, serene now, her voice low but intense. "I know exactly what I'm doing, Kody. For the first time in my life, I'm not defending your lies anymore." The judge glared back and forth, feeling the tempest brewing. "Very well," he murmured. "We shall go on with the reading." The courtroom leaned in when he spread the paper out on his desk. The soft rumble of the document was heard above any voice. He breathed deeply and started. "As per the DNA report," the judge's voice quivered a little as he started reading the report. All of them leaned forward, reporters, relatives, even the jurors who were cautioned not to react. The courtroom, once filled with whispers, was now terribly quiet, the kind of silence that is heavy, like the air itself is ready to burst. "From the DNA test," the judge went on deliberately, "the specimen given by Mr. Kody Brown is not compatible with the paternal DNA of the child in question, Solomon Brown." The room was filled with a collective gasp. In the back, someone whispered, "Oh my God." Kody stood stock still, eyes wide open as Robyn's face blanched. She shook her head again and again, whispering, "No, that's not possible. That's not possible." Meri's hands shook a little on the table, but her face remained serene, too serene. She had endured all sorts of heartbreak, but this was not revenge. This was liberation. Kody leapt to his feet. "This is a lie," he bellowed, voice ringing off the walls. "That test is a fake. I am Solomon's father." The judge slammed the gavel down at once. "Mr. Brown, you are out of order. Sit down." But Kody couldn't help it. "She's trying to kill me because she's jealous. She's been jealous of Robyn since the day she came into this family." Robyn began sobbing, shaking violently. "Kody, please," she whispered. "Stop. Just stop." Meri stood up, her voice firm but laced with anguish. "You've deigned to deceive all of us for years, Kody. You deceived us about your loyalty, your finances, your love. And now this? You can holler as much as you like, but the DNA doesn't lie." The judge called for a quick recess to restore order, but no one got up. The Browns' world, the facade they had constructed for cameras and spectators, was crumbling right there, under bright fluorescent lights and sworn testimony. When court resumed, the clerk called in the DNA expert, Dr. Latham, a calm, middle-aged woman with years of experience. She stepped up to the stand, her voice clear and firm. "This test was conducted under court supervision. The chain of custody is verified. These results are authentic." Kody's lawyer tried to object again, but the judge cut him off. "You've had your chance, counsel." "The report is admissible," Dr. Latham went on. "The genetic profile comparison reveals a 0% probability of paternity for Mr. Kody Brown." The words stung more the second time. Christine gasped out loud. Janelle clapped her hand over her mouth. Reporters typed furiously, their shaking fingers flying across the keys. Robyn's tears dissolved into sobs. She clutched Kody's arm. "Please, tell them it's not true. Tell them." Kody's face flushed, jaw clenching. "We don't need some scientist in a lab dictating what is reality. I know my family." But inside, in the flash of his eyes, everyone could see it. Terror. Meri's attorney rose. "Your Honor, we will demonstrate that this dishonesty is not a new development. It is part of a pattern of concealing, deceiving, and covering up specific truths when they became troublesome." She presented the judge with a stack of documents. Financial transfers signed in Robyn's name, transferring family money to a private account sometime near when this child was conceived. Robyn shook her head wildly. "That isn't true. That was for my sister's medical expenses." "Your sister's signature isn't on the account," Ms. Keller said frostily. "But another one is—" Everyone in the room moved forward. "Who?" the judge demanded. The lawyer's voice boomed through the air. "A man named Paul Heaton, Robyn's ex-boyfriend." The gallery exploded again. Christine let her pen fall. Kody's face blanked out. "That's impossible," Kody bellowed. "That man hasn't been around her in years." Robyn hid her face in her hands. "Kody, please don't." But it was too late. Her silence spoke louder than words ever could. The judge asked for order once more, his voice thundering. "If we cannot have control, I will clear the room." Reporters grew quiet, their cameras on Robyn, whose own tears streamed down her face. Kody slumped back in his chair, gazing off into space like a man who had just discovered that his whole life had been based on deception. The lawyer went on with measured composure, presenting bank transfers, text exchanges, and an email conversation between Paul and Robyn. The dates were immaculate. When Solomon was conceived, Robyn and Paul were exchanging dozens of intimate texts. Every piece of proof piled on top of the previous one until the pressure became too much to bear. Meri observed, quiet, her face inscrutable, not pleased, not vengeful, just sorrowful. At last, Robyn whispered, "I didn't want it to happen. We were under so much stress. Kody was distant and I was lonely." Kody slammed his palm on the table. "You lied to me about carrying my son." "I thought I was," she shouted, crying hysterically. "I didn't know until later. I was afraid, Kody. I didn't want to lose you." The judge's expression softened for an instant on the price of betrayal in human terms. Meri's eyes welled up with tears. "Now you see, don't you, what it's like to be lied to by those who promise they love you?" Kody faced her, anger blended with shame. "You think this proves you're right? You think this proves you're the victim? You only wanted to hurt me." Meri shook her head deliberately. "No, Kody. I wanted to show you what your reality tastes like when it's presented to your face." The judge leaned back, massaging his temples. "We will take another recess," he said. "This court must have time to absorb what we've heard." While the bailiff ushered spectators from the courtroom, cameras went off like fireworks. News trucks rolled tape outside the courthouse, catching Kody and Robyn leaving separately. Robyn was sobbing uncontrollably. Kody would not even glance at her. Within, Meri sat in solitude for a moment. The burden of years, the quiet meals, the loneliness, the betrayal, all came crashing in on her. But she wasn't shattered. For the first time, she felt something different. Peace. Christine approached softly, putting a hand on her shoulder. "You did what needed to be done." Meri nodded. "I didn't do it for revenge. I did it for the truth." Christine smiled weakly. "Then you finally got it." As Meri got up to go, the courtroom around her felt quieter, lighter. The storm wasn't over, not by a long shot, but for now, the truth was out there, raw and undeniable. Outside, cameras popped as Meri emerged into the sunlight. Reporters yelled questions she ignored. She just went straight ahead, her voice gentle but firm. "Sometimes the truth doesn't set you free. It just shows you who's really been in chains." ChatGPT responded, "The courtroom hung heavier when the hearing resumed the following morning. The light from the high windows was subdued, filtered through clouds that were gray, as if the sky itself had a sense of what was about to be disclosed. Tension of denial was gone. Now there was only the oppressive fear of what could still be exposed." Kody slumped with his arms crossed, looking at nothing. Gone was his proud stance, replaced by the slump of a man trapped. Robyn's place beside him was vacant. She hadn't come back. Some whispered she'd refused to come back in for another day of testifying. Others whispered that she was in hiding. In the background, Meri walked in with Christine and Janelle. For years, the three had been described as adversaries torn apart by jealousy and heartache. But now, their solidarity was something even the cameras couldn't manufacture. They were not here to bring Kody down. They were here to ride out with him. As soon as the judge adjourned the session to begin, Meri's attorney stood. "Your Honor, today we call Mrs. Christine Brown to the witness stand." Christine strode slowly to the witness stand, chin raised, eyes unflinching. She'd endured it all, the heartache, the breakup, the public scrutiny, but now she seemed prepared. The oath was taken, and she started. "Kody used to say that we were a family of honesty and faith," Christine said quietly, "but that was a falsehood. It was all about control, emotional, financial, even spiritual control." Kody's jaw clenched. "That's not true," he growled. The judge didn't even glance up. "Mr. Brown, one more outburst and I'll have you taken out," Christine went on. "He made us think that loyalty to him was loyalty to God, but behind closed doors he was concocting his own escape, with Robyn." The attorney nodded. "Mrs. Brown, did you see any behavior that indicated deception prior to Meri's discovery?" Christine inhaled deeply. "Yes, I saw things. Late-night calls, clandestine trips, money vanishing. But I did not want to see the truth. I was afraid." She hesitated, her voice shaking. "We all were. The lawyer offered a folder full of phone records, calls from Kody to a number under a company name Heaton Holdings, the same surname as Robyn's ex. Christine verified the timing aligned with the beginning of Robyn's pregnancy. Janelle leaned forward in her chair, tears shining. Christine looked at her, nodding subtly as if to say, "It's your turn." Kody attempted to whisper to his attorney, but what he had to say was too bitter to keep quiet. "They are portraying me as a monster." Meri overheard and whispered back icily down the aisle, "You did it yourself." The judge called the next witness, Mrs. Janelle Brown. Janelle made her way to the stand, hands tightly clasped. She wasn't as tearful as Christine, but there was an abiding sadness in her eyes, the sadness of a person who had lingered too long out of hope. "Mrs. Brown," the lawyer started, "can you tell us what life was like in the months preceding the separation?" Janelle paused. It was strained. "We weren't communicating, really communicating. Kody had begun to spend most of his time with Robyn. He'd tell us it was because she needed him, but I believe it was because she made him feel in control." She swallowed hard. "We were all dissolving in that house. He was telling us we weren't trying enough to hold the family together. But the thing was, he'd already gone. Emotionally." Her voice broke and she blinked hard. "When Meri showed me what she discovered, those transfers, those messages, I saw it was all a show. The family, the faith, the performance, everything." The lawyer nodded. "You think Meri's proof is real?" "Yes," Janelle whispered, "because I saw the same transfers. I talked to Kody about it once. He said, 'You don't know how business works.' But I did. He was paying for Robyn's private life and telling us there wasn't enough for our children's college." The courtroom gasped. Kody seemed like he would burst. "Your Honor," his lawyer yelled, "that's slander." The judge didn't even blink. "The witness will continue," Janelle went on, describing late-night arguments, Robyn's growing influence, and the strange secrecies surrounding Kody's business dealings. She spoke about how the show's money was split, how promises were made and broken, and how Meri's isolation wasn't accidental. It was orchestrated. "He needed someone to blame when things went wrong," Janelle said, "and Meri was always the easiest target." Meri's eyes were shining, but she did not lift her head. Her hands remained folded on the table, firm, unmoving. The lawyer inquired, "Mrs. Brown, did Kody ever confess to spending family money for himself?" Janelle's silence was answer enough. She glanced at Kody, then the judge. He didn't need to admit it. We all saw it. Kody slammed his hand on the table. "You're distorting everything. You all turned on me for not wanting to live a lie." The judge rose, his gavel in hand. "Mr. Brown, you are this close to contempt. One more tirade and you'll spend the night in a cell." The ensuing silence was oppressive. For the first time, Kody seemed really small. Not the dominant patriarch, not the star of a popular reality television show, just a guy defeated by his own pride. Christine and Janelle climbed down off the stand together. The crowd murmured as they walked past Meri, and for an instant, all three women exchanged a look that spoke volumes more than words ever could. Decades of rivalry and bitterness dissolved in that instant of mutual survival. The judge asked for a recess. With the courtroom clearing, Kody remained seated, his eyes fixed on the vacant spot next to him, where Robyn ought to have been. Outside, the media had lost all grip on reality. Headlines strobed across every screen. Inside, Meri remained seated, observing the whirl of turmoil around her. Christine returned, laying a soft hand upon her shoulder. "You did what we couldn't," she whispered. "You spoke the truth first." Meri shook her head. "We all did. It just took me longer to stop being afraid." Then, as the crowd started to clear, a commotion at the door of the courtroom caught everybody's attention. Robyn surfaced, white, tear-stained, clutched a little black folder in her hand. She shook with her trembling hands as she made her way to the bench. "Your Honor," she whispered, "I have to say something before things go any further." Silence settled over the room. Kody spun around, incredulity written on his face. "Robyn, what do you think you're doing?" She did not look at him. "Something that I should have done a long time ago." The judge nodded for her to continue, his tone steady but interested. "You may speak." Robyn breathed deeply. "I lied. I lied to keep my family safe. I lied to keep myself safe. And I lied because I figured I could remedy it later on. But now there is no remedying this." She opened up the black folder and retrieved a small paper, another DNA report. "This is a second test. It verifies everything Meri told us. Solomon's biological father isn't Kody Brown. The reaction that ensued wasn't shock. It was quiet, so profound, it stung. Even the cameras ceased to click. Kody's mouth formed words, but none were spoken. He was like a man who was seeing his whole self crumble before him. Robyn sobbed once more. "I'm sorry, Kody. I believed love would conceal the truth, but it just dug the hole deeper." The judge moved his head slowly. "Court will adjourn for the day," he declared. "We will reconvene tomorrow for closing statements." Meri stood in silence, her heart heavy but peaceful. She hadn't sought revenge. She'd sought honesty. And at last, she'd achieved it. Whispering as she exited the courtroom, Christine said, "So what now?" Meri stopped at the doorway, glancing back at Kody, still seated in stunned silence. "Now," she said softly, "now we learn who we all are without the lies." The courtroom feels like it's holding its breath. The fluorescent lights buzz faintly above, casting a sterile glow over tense faces. Kody sits at the defendant's table, his hands clasped so tightly his knuckles are white. Across from him, Meri's expression is unreadable, her eyes locked on the judge, but her mind clearly elsewhere. Judge Harrison clears his throat. We will now hear the evidence of the plaintiff on paternity testing. The term paternity cuts through the air in the courtroom like a knife. Robyn's head snaps up, confusion dawning on her face. Christine looks over at Janelle, both obviously stunned. Only Meri appears prepared, unruffled, serene, too serene. Kody squirms in his seat. "Your Honor, I don't understand why this is pertinent," but before he can finish, Meri's lawyer, a calm but firm woman named Evelyn Clark, stands and faces the court. "Your Honor, it's directly relevant. The defense has made multiple statements regarding trust, loyalty, and family unity, but this new evidence questions the very foundation of that unity." Evelyn walks over to the jury, taking slow paces. "For years, my client thought that she was part of a family that was grounded in integrity and faith. But what happens when those relationships are held together by a deception, one so profound it alters the entire narrative?" The judge inclines her head. "Go on." Evelyn pulls open a folder and pushes a document across the table. The clerk takes it, passing it on to the judge. "These are DNA test results," Evelyn says, "performed in private at the request of an independent third party, someone who had doubts." The room is consumed by a shocked silence. You can almost hear Robyn's heartbeat thudding in her chest. The judge scans the paper intently, his furrowed brow creasing deeper, then quietly, "Whose DNA are we talking about here?" Evelyn breathes. "Kody Brown and Solomon Brown." The whole courtroom gasps. Robyn's hand shoots up to her mouth. "What?" Kody's face pales. "This is absurd. Where did you even get—" But Evelyn interrupts him. "The test was commissioned by a legal request when the issue of asset division between spouses arose, and it demonstrates, beyond any shadow of a doubt, that Kody Brown is not Solomon's biological father." The room explodes. Reporters sprint out to notify their editors. Spectators gasp in disbelief. Even Christine's mouth hangs open. Meri does not stir. She simply sits staring ahead of her, her face impassive. But beneath her calm, she is racing. This was not about revenge. It was about truth. Kody gets up, slapping his hand on the table. "That's a lie. I was present when Solomon was born. Robyn and I, this is madness." Robyn is shaking now, streaming tears down her face. "Kody, I promise I have no idea what this is. This can't happen." But the evidence carries more weight than their rhetoric. The judge pounds his gavel for order. "Mr. Brown, you will hold your temper in check." The courtroom gradually quiets once more, but the tempest of emotion remains like smoke. Evelyn moves closer to the witness stand. "Meri, can you tell the court when you first suspected something was amiss?" Meri at last turns to her. Her voice is firm but quiet. "It was in one of our therapy sessions. Robyn spoke something about previous errors before she came into the family. The way she said it, it wasn't like a confession, rather a threat. I didn't know what to do with it then." Evelyn nods. "And when did you start looking into it?" "When Kody began altering his tales," says Meri softly. "He explained how Robyn and I both rescued him, but occasionally he'd slip. He'd say things like, before Solomon joined the picture, when he was already meant to be a part of the family. The timelines did not work out. Something just did not add up. The courtroom remains silent. The emotional tension is suffocating. Kody cuts in, his tone growing loud. You had no business looking into my family. You're bitter, Meri. Bitter because you couldn't deal with being left behind. Meri's tone turns cold. I didn't dig, Kody. I looked out for myself, and it seems I looked out for a truth you weren't courageous enough to confront. The judge lifts an eyebrow but says nothing. The weight of Meri's words seems to sit there in the air like fog. Robyn disintegrates. This is not true, Your Honor. Perhaps it's a laboratory error or something. But Evelyn stands up, waving another document. Your Honor, to remove doubt, we had a second test conducted in the court's presence. The results were the same. Robyn's cries ring out in the courtroom. Kody slumps into his seat, clearly shattered. The line comes like a lightning bolt. Even Christine dabs at tears, though she is trying to conceal them. The judge breathes in sharply. We will take a 30-minute recess. Court will adjourn until then. The gavel comes down and everybody stands, but nobody goes anywhere. The room is heavy with shock. As the cameras flash and murmurs fill the room, Kody stands slowly and looks toward Meri. You think this makes you a hero? He whispers. You just burned down everything we built. Meri looks at him for a long moment before answering. No, Kody. You did that yourself. Outside the courtroom, Robyn leans against a wall, her body trembling uncontrollably. He's not the father, she mutters to herself. Christine and Janelle look at each other but remain silent. For the first time, there is no rage, only shock. At the same time, Meri steps out into the hallway, head held high. Reporters surround her with a barrage of questions. She does not answer them. She just states one thing. The truth was always there. It just needed someone to stop being afraid of it. That unanswered question weighs everything down like a black cloud. And as the episode ends, we see Robyn standing in front of the window, her reflection shaking in the glass, as though she's looking at a version of herself that she no longer knows. The courtroom is a different place today, heavy. The once buzzing sound of reporters and onlookers has become an uncomfortable silence. Any creak of a chair, any cough sounds like thunder. Everyone is aware that today it's over, or at least it's supposed to be. Kody enters the courtroom first, accompanied by his attorney. His own face is pinched, his swagger replaced by something akin to weariness. Robyn enters after him, eyes puffy from weeping nights. She doesn't glance at him, not even once. Then Meri enters, head held high, serene, yet with a tempest seething behind her eyes. There is no victory in her face, only a resolute sort of peace. She understands today will alter everything. The bailiff's voice breaks the tension. All rise. The Superior Court of Nevada is in session, the Honorable Judge Harrison presiding. Everyone rises as the judge enters. He nods curtly and sits. You may be seated. The shuffle of footsteps echoes the air as the last day of this explosive trial dawns. Cameras click, microphones buzz. On the outside, fans and protesters congregate, clutching signs, some of which read, Justice for Meri, others, Leave Kody alone. Judge Harrison clears his throat. We are present to prove the case between Meri Brown against Kody Brown, including charges of emotional deception, misrepresentation, and forgery in family financial arrangements. Before I go on to closing arguments, the defense has the right to call their last witness. Kody's attorney rises. Your Honor, the defense calls Robyn Brown to testify. The crowd mutters again. Robyn appears frightened but stands. She passes between the stand and everyone, particularly Kody, without making eye contact. The bailiff swears her in. She sits, shaking hands. Mrs. Brown. The attorney starts gently. You've been at the eye of this storm. Can you explain to the court how this whole mess started, from your point of view? Robyn breathes deeply, tears pricking up again. When I got married into the family, I thought I was rescuing Kody. I thought we were all going to support each other in healing, but it wasn't like that. Everyone was arguing, envious, getting hurt. I thought if I provided him with more security, maybe things would calm down. She glances over at Kody, her face cracking. But it didn't. He began distancing himself from everyone else, and all of a sudden, I was the reason everything was wrong. I didn't ask for this. The lawyer nods in sympathy. And what about the DNA results? The whole room comes to a stop. Robyn's lips tremble. I didn't know, she breathes. I swear on everything, I didn't know. He's my baby. I didn't think that anyone would ever even doubt that. Her voice breaks and she glances at the judge. I was in a bad spot before I met Kody. I messed up. I trusted somebody who hurt me, but I believed that Kody was different. I believed we could begin again. Kody appears stunned. He spins around, his words low and shaking. Robyn, are you saying... The attorney interrupts hastily. Your Honor, if you please. Robyn slowly nods. I didn't intend to keep it a secret forever. I didn't know how to explain it. You were so proud of Solomon. You referred to him as your miracle. I couldn't ruin that. The judge takes a deep breath. The entire courtroom is quiet. So quiet that the soft hum of the air conditioning fills the space. Kody reclines, eyes shut, shaking his head. For once, no words. No defense, just silence. Evelyn Clark, Meri's attorney, approaches for cross-examination. Mrs. Brown, do you realize what your silence accomplished? My client was in emotional exile for years as you two flaunted your ideal love in the world. Robyn blinks back tears. I know, and I'm sorry, but I wasn't the only one who lied. Every member of this family kept something hidden. Evelyn hesitates. Perhaps so. But not every member of this family constructed their future around a falsehood. The words stand there, cutting and absolute. Judge Harrison pauses for what seems like a long time before he speaks. This court will adjourn briefly before hearing judgment. As the gavel comes down, Robyn collapses in full. Kody does not move to console her. He simply sits blankly in front of him, his expression vacant. Outside in the courthouse corridor, Meri stands at the window, gazing out over the storm clouds building over Las Vegas. It's symbolic, she thinks, a storm closing one door and washing away the dust of yesterday. Christine walks up quietly beside her. You did what none of us could, she says softly. Meri glances at her. I didn't do it for revenge. I know, Christine replies. You did it for peace. They stand in silence for a moment, watching the rain begin to fall. When court resumes, everyone feels the weight of finality. The judge takes his seat once again, flipping through his notes slowly. This has been one of the most emotionally charged cases I've ever presided over, he begins. And though much of what we've heard isn't illegal, it reveals deep moral betrayal within a once publicly celebrated family. Kody's eyes stay fixed on the table. The judge goes on to say, as far as the allegations of financial misrepresentation, the court rules that Mr. Kody Brown did indeed divert family funds without the explicit permission of all parties concerned. Restitution is ordered. There is a ripple of gasps throughout the courtroom. Kody glances up quickly, his face tightening, but he does not utter a word. The judge turns another page. Regarding the question of paternity and emotional damages, the court holds that although there was deception, there is no enough evidence to establish intentional fraud on the part of Mrs. Robyn Brown, but emotional damage to Mrs. Meri Brown cannot be denied. Meri shuts her eyes, tears welling up, but not tears of sadness. It's relief. The judge stares straight at Kody. Mr. Brown, you have consistently portrayed yourself as a man of religion and moral principle, but your conduct demonstrates a course of manipulation, concealment, and emotional abandonment. This court can't hold you accountable for those things legally, but you have to live with them morally. The words sting more than any verdict could. The courtroom is still. Even the reporters drop their cameras. The judge summarizes, the motion is granted. Assets will be divided according to the modified agreements. Court is adjourned. The gavel crashes down. As the crowd starts to disperse, Kody moves to Meri. His tone is low, almost shattered. You think this sets you free? Meri regards him for a long moment. It doesn't make me free, Kody. It makes me real again. Robyn stands behind him, sobbing. I never meant to hurt anyone. Meri doesn't say a word. She simply grabs her bag and heads out, the courtroom doors swinging slowly shut behind her. Outside, the storm has intensified into a downpour. Cameras flash, reporters yell questions. Meri pauses on the courthouse steps, looks out into the mayhem, and simply says, I did not come to win. I came to tell the truth. The rest is time's business. She turns and walks away, rain seeping through her coat, but she doesn't rush. Each drop is like purging, like a new start. Back in the deserted courtroom, Kody sits by himself, gazing at the family Bible that was once a symbol of their unity. He finally appears to understand just how utterly alone he is. The camera slowly pans to Robyn sitting a few rows back from him, praying silently for no one to hear. And while the credits start to roll in the audience's head, a closing narration brings the story to an end.